If you thought waking up was hard now, you have no idea what is coming. Picture this. Your alarm goes off and you turn on the TV to put something on in the background, but rather than your favorite YouTube video or show, the shock of the boiled one on your screen causes you to almost put a hole in the wall, ripping the cord out. Damn it, that's like the third time this week. You really should have invested in one of those newer entity resistant models. You try your phone instead, but all this does is annoy you with a series of bizarre ads telling you to eat wooden furniture, so I guess breakfast it is. Now, despite your new urge to eat your wooden chairs, you've actually experienced something like this before, and you've learned since then to not keep wooden furniture like this inside of your house. So instead, you end up making yourself something normal and going on with your day. Although being met with a glowing light under the bathroom door and along with whispers of the dam kind of makes you want to consult the public safety book. And that would inform you that these signs mean guilt is likely present in your bathroom and you'll have to wait until later. Not like you're going to be making it far today anyways, as the entity Amber has been taking out all the cars in your neighborhood looking for someone to devour, and yours was one of those on the list. This is an example of what it is like living in the Dr. Nowhere universe, where, similar to the Trevor Henderson universe actually, it is going to be filled with dozens of these creatures. But regardless, the fact of the matter is that this universe is unmistakably dangerous. So let me paint you a picture on exactly how hellish it would be living in this sort of scenario, starting with simply just your home itself. You have to keep in mind that on top of everything else I'm going to be telling you, you wouldn't be able to call for help in any form, as a lot of the times the law enforcement agencies, along with anyone else here, is going to be extremely discouraged from using any form of phone or video call due to the entity called the Locust, who specializes in impersonating loved ones and humans and then using calls in order to gain an entry into your home, often leaving bodies completely empty on the inside, yet seemingly appearing unharmed otherwise. I would imagine that there'd be workarounds for this, but as of now, it's better to assume that you are going to be alone when it comes to help. Now, the most important thing is when you first wake up, please under no circumstance just be walking around your house like you'd be safe, because unlike in the normal universe, when it comes to Dr. Nowhere, these things could be anywhere, especially in an infestation of the entity known as Harvest, who typically hides in the crawl spaces such as your stairways, your vents, stuff like that. And if you for any reason do stumble upon this thing, you're definitely going to want to immediately get in your car and drive as far as you possibly can and just start a new life. Father Fester is slow, but it's never going to stop hunting you if you don't go far enough. While doing this same check, you're going to also want to look out for random giant mushrooms sprouting in or around your home, along with clicking noises, as these both almost guarantee that something is going to be coming to kill you. Regardless, you're going to have to get going, because you know how I said the whole take the day off thing? We all know that was a fucking joke, especially because everyone would be dealing with this sort of thing. So your options are realistically biking or the bus now that your car is destroyed. And we both know which one is faster, so you better start running. Now, the second you leave your house, you can't help but notice a tall, lengthy figure appearing like wearing a trench coat and hat, standing just in the distance, sitting still and watching. And while you're losing yourself in just how horrified you are, the bus drives right past you. But this is the least of your worries. You now are going to have to deal with the horrors of biking to work safely. And y'all can probably assume that this much slower, less armored approach is going to be a lot worse suited for survival. But unless you plan on hitchhiking, then this is going to be your best chance. Now, the government has made tapes for this sort of thing. However, they're less informative and more like fever dreams and have nothing to really do with the problems that you're facing on your day-to-day life. And plus, the longer you're going to be standing still, you eventually start to feel watched. And that's because all of the watchtowers have now become focused on you. Please, for the love of God, ignore them, or they will never leave you alone. They have to believe that you can't actually see them, even if you can. And by the way, that reminds me, I want to give you guys a few do or don'ts for getting to work safely in this sort of scenario. Firstly, do pay attention for any weird occurrences around you. Some could be nothing or largely face value, while others could signal that you likely won't even have a work to go to, and you should just turn around immediately. And as hinted before, don't stay in one place too long, because on top of the man behind you, who, by the way, has slowly been getting closer, there are many psychological entities that, if given the chance, will appear around you if you wait too long. But we will cover more on that later. Now, if this seems like a situation that would be an insane amount of stress for the average person, you wouldn't be wrong. I honestly don't know how much more any person could take of this. But on the bright side, you would be almost at work by now, albeit like roughly 1 to 2 hours late, but to be honest, that would be expected here. As you can assume, getting to work or school wouldn't be much better, and in fact, likely much more stressful. And you better hope you aren't doing a lot of customer service, as most people, even non entities, would be hostile, defensive, and on the edge of snapping. And I don't think anyone would be safe whatsoever. The same thing would be the case at school. Like, imagine taking like a test off of like 2 hours of sleep and having to run to school, and then every single person you see along the way, or actually they're like students, teachers, whatever, immediately snapping on you and being all anxious and paranoid, and as they have all been dealing with the same shit you have. Impossible. I would just be getting F's in every class, which albeit isn't that different from real life right now, but it would still be a very challenging situation. The best case scenario would be a desk job, because at least then you can just keep to yourself and get paid. But today, something is off. Almost no one is here, and there's this weird show playing on the screens. This vascular and disturbing entity on this video is just looping over and over again, and you only have one email from your boss telling you to somehow figure out what is happening in the clip. A task that frankly seems impossible and just pushes you to fumble further into madness, eventually running down the hallway looking for your boss to complain about this sick joke that surely everyone is playing on you, right? Once you reach his office, you'll find a pile of corpses and a giant flea-like entity feeding on them. Yep, that's the final straw. The next few minutes would just be pure chaos, as your mind just breaks as you try to escape this thing. The next few steps are blurry, but eventually end up getting knocked unconscious. But somehow, some way, when you wake up, you are still alive, only to realize someone has brought you to a psych ward. Okay, so I understand the whole mental breakdown at work leading to the psych ward sort of thing, but who the fuck even brought me here? And why do I still not really feel safe? Well, I'll tell you why. Psych wards in this universe, along with just insanity in general, often are linked to these phenomenons known by cone zones. But as I mentioned in my Smart Way to Survive Analog Horror video, if you don't acknowledge them and calm yourself down and ignore them, you could make it out the front door, which oddly would be open. You'd think you'd be home free, only to realize that you have no idea where you are now. But one thing you do know is you see the man from before almost bounding around in the field in front of you, in almost the emphasis of pure giving up. I would honestly just lay down on the ground by now, but maybe there could be a way of getting home. Before you can think any further, you hear a faint humming, calling you in the distance. Many tall pillars stand in front of you, and you can't help yourself from falling into their traps. As you get closer, you start to feel wrong, but you can't stop your legs from moving. Your mind starts to warp and bend in ways you can't comprehend, then suddenly you're awake in bed, confused and sweating. Now, normally when coming into contact with obelisks, you'd be promptly absorbed into them and become a long string of intestines that go into the heavens or wherever, and you wouldn't be making it back. But in this case, as oddly as it sounds, you'd be ending up back in your bed, reappearing just as quickly as you entered that weird dreamlike area. But that being said, I would recommend not following any of these hums going forward. The clock just so static, which is something I honestly wasn't aware clocks did, and your bed feels warm. Too warm. Unfortunately, it seems like the new mattress that you picked up was actually a dormant mattress folk, a entity that, true to its name, appears very similar to a normal mattress, containing many organ and bone systems along with the remains of hundreds of humans that previously owned it. That warmness from before probably means that you should get up and cool your room immediately, along with, of course, avoiding sleeping on that mattress ever again. From looking outside, you can probably assume that it is starting to get dark, and that is one of the most dangerous times in this universe. To start, do immediately turn on every light in your house. It will be dark soon, and you don't want to risk attracting a follower who move incredibly fast after you turn them off to go to sleep. This can also help you a lot with the other entities that may appear, which brings me to don't ever assume that just because your doors are locked and windows are closed, that nothing can make its way into your house. Many of these creatures will not have any issues getting in, especially if you trigger them, like for an example, viewing the carolers outside. Because of this reason, I recommend not looking at your windows whatsoever. And of course, never answering the door. It is assumed that they wait in the street throughout the night, for any signs of movement or attention from any of the surrounding houses. Then, when they get what they want, they can appear anywhere inside of your house and emit this shrill frequency that, while initially might seem like a disturbing noise, eventually it will begin to sort of corrupt your mind into becoming a part of their group. This process is brutal and involves removing the top part of your skull, replacing your vocal cords, and forcibly extending your limbs. After this process is done, everything you once had is gone, and the cycle will repeat. I recommend picking one room that has zero places to hide, a specific inspected bed that is normal temperature and on the floor, and the least amount of windows possible. You can then move a large piece of furniture in front of the entrance and then sleep with the light on, even if dim. Now, if you are lucky enough, you will be able to fall asleep like this and then not dream at all. However, there is always going to be the chance that you are going to be running into one of the most unavoidable entities in this universe, Empty.3, or the Dream Entity. This creature essentially will dictate the dream that you're going to have, and while it has been known to be merciful in the past, recently it's been more interested in keeping you in an infinite time loop and making your dream seem like it will never end. Meaning you'll be stuck in this odd liminal room where it will keep mocking you from that dark hallway, and you can be here from anywhere from a few hours to hundreds of years in your perspective, all while your physical body just experiences one night. It is a fate worse than death, and it is near impossible to 100% prevent. You can, however, make an encounter less likely by not oversleeping, as the more cycles you complete, the more REM or REM sleep that you have. Oh, hell no, what the hell is that? Okay, I honestly don't feel safe here after that, but I think I have a place in mind for a vacation. Here, I'll play the introduction tape. If you're looking for time away from this nightmare that is the real world, look no further than this perfect vacation spot. Explore the headless macrocosm, a almost perfect representation of the world we live in today. Frolic in the luscious fields, build your new homes inside one of the abandoned homesteads, of which there are many now, or go exploring through the many miles of dense forestry, and who knows what you will find, or what wildlife you will discover.
To life and removed the head of the man. It then proceeded to attach the severed head to the stump of its own neck. The man's name was Michael Tedford.
Regardless of the implications, living in the headless macrocosm at the cost of, being a completely different dimension is devoid of a lot of the entities that you would see in the main realm, except for one known as the Breathmen, who, for the most part, are technically just harmless statues that are extremely disturbing. And they're going to be appearing around random fields and buildings and just generally everywhere you go. When you do enter this dimension, however, you're going to be realizing that you cannot recognize a majority of the people that live here, as they are all shadows. Regardless of this, it seems like it is communally decided that no one will survive unless they don't harm each other, so you can assume many of the people are at least willing to coexist. But the Breathmen, as much as you'd like to, cannot be ignored. They tower over many buildings, and unless you want to end up like Michael Tedford, a human that was decapitated after simply brushing past one of these things, to make things worse, it seems like these entities have access to the real world and will actually wear parts of your body after killing you and traumatize whatever loved ones or family or friends that you have in the actual dimension. So honestly, I'm going to leave it up to you guys whether going to this dimension is technically better, or if you'd rather just take your chances with all the other entities, as some people might not be able to last a week here before they go diving headfirst into one of the Breathmen. But regardless, whichever one you choose, there is bound to eventually be an end to all of this. This place might seem hopeless in a lot of regards, but I've actually come up with a few tips that you could use the effects of these creatures in order to make your life a little bit better. First of all, this world would most likely become dependent on working from home, as many people would refuse to go out in general due to the fear of running into something terrible. Not that worse things can't just enter your house anyways, but as I mentioned in the beginning, technology always is advancing, and it is likely that boiled wind resistant TVs or locust resistant cell towers would be constructed, and this would make general home life a bit more livable. Not to mention, due to philbism causing a surge in demand for chairs, you could likely create them as a business and sell them on the online forums where that religion thrives, if your conscience can handle it, that is. So it seems like your furniture business is booming, and you've been able to afford some decent security on your home. I think you could probably stop now. Okay, well, I don't want to be that guy, but I don't know how moral selling furniture to people who will likely eat it and die is. All right, whatever you say. I just wanted to make sure that you didn't attract.